Your grandmother's rocking chair, your mother's china, we all have things from our parents that we really cherish, but how valuable monetarily are they? We have someone here with us, Nick Chrisley. You're from Auntie's Antique Mall, that's hard to say, in Geauga County.
Correct.
And you're here to help us kind of put value on some things, but first tell us a little bit about what's the difference between antiques and things that maybe aren't antique.
Okay, well, to start off, in order to be considered an antique, it has to be 100 years old. That's the definition and by law.
Okay.
From that, we would expand a little further, and then there's what we call true antiques. And a true antique is typically something that was made before, like, the Civil War era, basically the start of the Industrial Revolution. So what you're looking at is handmade, one-of-a-kind type stuff, where it's not mass-produced. You're not going to find exactly another one type stuff.
Now, I brought some things. These are, my mother wasn't, and tell me if I'm pronouncing this right or not, Nippon or is it Nippon?
Either's fine as far as I know. I've heard both. I don't know, to be honest. But
my mother,
Nippon is what mostly.
Okay. My mother was a Nippon collector, and these pieces right here are hers, and I brought them out. I'm so excited. I'd love to hear you tell me what they're worth.
Okay. Basically, Nippon is a real generalized topic. It covers everything. Basically, it translates, it means Japan. So anything made in Japan is going to usually say Nippon on it if it was pre-1921. So something like this bowl here is typically going to value in around the $100 to $125 range.
Okay.
You can basically tell the age based on the mark. Noritake is a little bit modern versus where if you start looking into things like this, this is a wonderful piece that dates probably pre-1900s, and we can tell that based on the language and the mark itself on the bottom here. Other things are indicative of age, but something like this is a great, highly collectible piece. A lot of people look for something like this. Something like this is probably going to value between $1,200 and $1,500, and could go more than that at the right auction. No, in all reality, I mean, like I always tell people though, you never know what something's worth. It's worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. So.
Well, that's true. Okay. Well, how about this? Actually, is my favorite piece.
Okay, this is a little bit more modern, and it's kind of, you can tell just alone by the shape alone, it's a more modern look to it. It's not as ornate. It doesn't have any of the embossing or anything like that. And then when we flip it over, we look at the mark again. We can tell just by looking at that mark alone how intricate and how detailed it is that it's a newer mark. It wasn't something that is real old and wasn't painted necessarily. It was stamped type thing, so that's why there's all the detail.
And then the napkin ring?
I'm not really sure as far as age, to be honest with you. Again, there's no markings to indicate where or when it would have been made, but based on the designs and that, again, it's probably a early 1900s piece, maybe 1915s,
is it
1920s.
That is
I would say yes, just because of, again, it has that look, it has everything going for it that says it's an early Japanese piece.
And then thank you for assessing all these.
Sure, no problem.
What are this? You brought some things.
I brought a few things, like stuff to look for, like maybe you might find in your own home. Like one of these, this is a Hot Wheel. It's a red line. It has red lines on the wheels. These were produced in like the 1960s. You probably, I don't even know, that's way before my time, but it was probably 50 cents new. It's just a tiny little car. You give these to your kids to play with. Something like this nowadays values at probably around $200.
That's crazy.
No, it's true. They're highly collected, and people are willing to pay some really
Well, we're going to have to have
them.
you back to talk about one other thing. Let's do this little picture.
This is, again, another thing. This is a piece of Fostoria American. American is the pattern. It's indicative by the pyramid things. This is a pretty common piece. A lot of people collect this stuff, but something like this, again, little syrup pitcher.
What's
it
that?
is like $250 piece of glass.
Amazing. Now, you have an event coming up this weekend. Would you tell us?
I do. This Saturday, we're going to be doing unofficial appraisals, which is basically just like what I did here. Give you a rough idea of what you have and what kind of value it is. We're doing that at Auntie's Antique Mall from 11 to 4, and it's part of Geauga County Tourism's Drive It Yourself tour.
That's terrific. Thank you so much for being here. And what a fun thing to do for Mother's Day.
Yeah, absolutely. Come out and get your mom something that she'll be able to look back and say, I had one of those when I was a kid, or Grandma had those things. There's all kind of stuff out there.
And people can get a hold of you by calling you at 440-548-5353, and your website is auntiesantiquemall.com.
Right.
Thanks again.
Sure.
We'll be right back with Ask Coach Kathy.
Coming up, unlike others, you're not Mom's best friend, and you don't want to be. Kathy tackles a touchy relationship. And next week, couples who play together really do stay together. Find out why fun is the name of the game next week on Can You Relate with Kathy Dawson.